On the last video, I talked about Portraits of Decay by J.R. Blaine's. I finished up on chapter 4, and since then I've read chapters 5 through 11, which gets us through the first part of the book. The book is broken up in part 1 and part 2. So part 2 covers what I assume is chapter 12 through to the end. It's like chapter 31, unless there's a part 3 hidden somewhere in here. Anyways, so quite a bit has gone on. I'll just briefly try to summarize it. There's an escalating, slower build-up of the romantic drama happening between our principal players here, being Nevaeh, Gemma, and Jefferson. So that's going on. Gemma discovers the cheating that's going on and is, of course, incensed. She manages to talk her way into Nevaeh's apartment and steals a portrait that Jefferson had made of Nevaeh. So that's in Gemma's possession. Something is going to happen with that, I'm sure. I'm just not sure what that's going to be at this point. And so part of Gemma's revenge, she's trying to get revenge on Nevaeh through the art gallery by taking control of the art gallery in some fashion and cutting Nevaeh out of the picture. But to do that, Gemma needs lots of money, which her parents have. So she goes to her mother to make some money off of her future inheritance. But her mother says no, and that leaves Gemma trying to figure everything out. But the place where they're at in that scene, when Gemma goes to her mother to try to get the money for her revenge, is what's it called? Like the Louisiana Republican Women's Club or something like that. It sounds like a dry place to be. Anyways, they're having a speaker there, and the speaker is Angelique's husband. So Angelique from the prologue, and in that one chapter where Nevaeh went to the mental asylum, the mental hospital, psychiatric hospital. That's the word. Yep, that's the one I couldn't remember in that other video. Anyway, for some reason, the husband's there speaking, giving some sort of testimony or speech about Republican values or something. But he gets interrupted by Angelique's sister, who's apparently made it her MO to follow this guy place to place wherever he might try to gain prominence and undercutting him by telling her side of the story. Angelique's sister believes in the voodoo reasons behind Angelique's insanity. Not that she just like had some nervous breakdown as a fact of postpartum depression or something like that. And this piques Gemma's interest, and she follows this woman, Sophie, out to the parking lot and gets the scoop on where to find the voodoo. The real deal, the real McCoy in the voodoo of New Orleans. And so she goes into this little shop, and they're trying to initially trying to talk Gemma out of trying to find this particular sorceress. What's her name? It's like Merland St. Pierre, I think. But Gemma flashes some money at them, enough to turn their heads, and they take her to the swamp. And there's this, he's described as a ghoul, and that's probably a literal description here, but just like this tall, this skinny, gaunt figure that's pushing a pole boat across the swamp in order to take those who might try to find her to the sorceress's hut, her swamp residence. And so Gemma buys this poison, this zombie ingredient agent to put into Jefferson's drink, and she's given this warning. Is like, at first the sorceress tries to convince Gemma just to let it drop. Leave this turkey, go find yourself a new fella. Gemma's insistent. He's like, okay, I'll sell the thing to you, but it comes with a warning. It's like, you have to follow these steps exactly to a T, and even if you do it right, you're not going to get what you want, right? Because Jefferson, whoever is the recipient of this poison, when they come out the other side, they will not be the same person they were on this side. So, like, it's just warnings all around. It's like, you're not going to get what you want. However you cut it, you're going to lose something. So in the next chapter, Jefferson, he's been painting. He's had the spark of inspiration, of creativity, and he's been painting, and just kind of letting the world fall away, and hasn't been paying attention to everyone trying to get a hold of him to warn him that Gemma knows he's been carrying on with Nevaeh and doing all this cheating and running around behind Gemma's back. And so he ends up going over to her apartment, in his mind convinced that, okay, now's the time we break things off. But he's a big dummy, and even when he does figure out that Gemma's wise to the scheme, he still thinks he's going to come out on top somewhere around here. He's just acting foolishly. And Gemma manages to sneak the poison into his drink, and the chapter ends with him collapsed on the floor. No, it's just a whole bunch of things. It's been a kind of a slow burn. It's all coming up to this big point here. It's a pretty effective moment, I think. There's just a couple things I want to point out, and then one thing I think is actually is pretty interesting. As far as like Gemma believing in the efficacy of this voodoo power, it does feel a little bit like it comes out of left field. Like there's not, maybe I missed something just because I wasn't paying close enough attention, but it didn't seem like there was anything to Gemma's character or to the world building as a whole, which would lend credence to the idea that people just naturally believe in voodoo when it's presented to them. Because in fact, several characters are like, that's malarkey. It means nothing, you know. So as to why Gemma is convinced of it, just seemingly suddenly, once this one Sophie starts laying the accusing finger on this one fellow, I don't know. Maybe there's something later in the book where it's going to justify itself as to why Gemma was so ready to believe this was the case. It just seems to, it just didn't seem to be as set up as I would have liked it previous. That trips up me a little bit. It might not trip up anybody else. And there's one line here. This means nothing really, but I just thought it was a bit funny. Yeah. It says, talking about Jefferson when he's painting. It says, ever since Nevaeh left, he'd slipped into the zone, the photos transforming into images in front of his eyes. I just think it's funny, photos transforming into images. He's talking about photographs that Nevaeh had taken of the psychiatric hospital, which has caused a spark of inspiration in Jefferson to paint something. It's just a funny way of phrasing that. But yeah, the rest of the book's pretty good, prose-wise, anyway. Now, one thing I think is pretty interesting is, so you have one chapter here where Nevaeh is at the art gallery talking with Camille. Camille's trying to offer Nevaeh this job, and Nevaeh is trying to talk about all this drama and trouble she's having with Jefferson, with Gemma, and all that, and it's getting mixed in. And in that scene, Camille and this other artist in the story, Marcel, who was this once spurned lover of Gemma, so he has firsthand knowledge of just how vicious and vindictive she can be. Camille and Marcel are acting as a couple, and they're offering advice to Gemma. They're offering this warning that you have crossed Gemma, and so you're going to suffer for that in some capacity. It's going to come down on you. You don't know how, you don't know where or when, but it is coming around. Now, the next chapter, as I say, when Gemma goes to this one voodoo shop trying to find somebody who can take her to the sorceress so she can get the real deal voodoo, there's a man in there and his wife who are essentially performing that same function, trying to talk Gemma out of seeking this revenge. It's like, you don't know what you're getting into. You don't know how this is going to kick back onto you and destroy you. But eventually they give in, and of course, and take her there. I just, these the book has a bunch of paralleling chapters like that, or at least details within chapters that parallel one to the next. I appreciate it a good deal. Like I say, I read that one bit of the prose here. I don't know. It may just be me, because most of what I read day to day anyways is, 50, 100 years old. So I'm just more used to an older style of writing. So that when somebody writes in contemporary language, it holds less appeal to me. I don't know, that may be going on. I don't know. But what is really excellent about this book is that obviously J.R. Blaines knows what he wants to write about. right? Like he's got to figure it out as to what everything is about, what everything is about thematically, and in ironing out the plot so that he knows what every step goes, which direction every step goes in. I mean, that sounds like, I'm afraid that sounds like damning my faint praise. I don't mean it to be. I'm just saying that, by opinion, I would have preferred more stylized writing, but in the mechanical aspects of the story and the thematic aspects of the story, J.R. Blaines obviously knows what he's doing, right? He's not some novice out here just throwing things at the wall, And I hope I'm not like cutting. I hope it doesn't sound like I'm trying to cut the legs out from under him. But what I'm saying here, I'm just trying to give an honest assessment of my thoughts of the book so far. Now there is probably a way I better could have phrased that, but that's where I'm at. Anyways, that's all I've got to say about that for now. I look forward to reading the rest of it. I'm not sure exactly when I'll have another video put up about this, but I do recommend picking this one up. 11 chapters in, the voodoo and stuff that is promised on the back matter really only like kicks in and becomes really present in chapters 10 and 11 so far. Now I expect a certain amount of that to ramp up as the story goes on. But this does get my recommendation so far. If you just interested in good drama and a well thought out book, you can look at this one. Anyways, that's all I got to say about that. I'll talk to you later.